Welcome to the Gaming Grounds channel. It's your host, Action Jack, and I know this is a big surprise. Me doing a back-to-back video. Haven't done it in a long time, but nonetheless, as I've always said with this channel, I will report on things that excite me. So there's been enough out there to excite me to run two videos back to back, and I'm pretty sure you can see within the title where the excitement comes from today, and that is a possible huge VR push coming. I know this is just me speculating, but I really feel like sometimes it only takes one thing to really get the ball rolling. And what I'm talking about today is the love, the support, the push that Batman Arkham Shadows is receiving. Back on Batman Arkham Shadows is a Quest exclusive VR game that puts you in the eyes and the form of Batman. And you are Batman. Now, I know there was a Batman VR game back on PSVR, but that was kind of like I guess kind of like a demo, if you will. So you didn't really play as Batman. You kind of went and walked around in the world of Batman. So it wasn't much of a game. But this one is a full-fledged game, right? So you get to do everything that you tend to see in the Arkham games that have released in the past. Of course, there's going to be some things that you change here and there, but just being in that vision, being in that space as Batman is a cool experience. So why do I feel like this is going to be a huge push for VR solely because of this game? So if you watch my last video that I released, which is almost like 50 minutes long, I mentioned the biggest issue with VR comes down to the attention centered around it. Understanding that this is a very niche genre, if you will, excuse me, and not everybody wants to get into VR, and not everybody has the interest to get into VR. But nonetheless, when it comes down to what it needs more content creators to push a positive and also proper criticism to get it where it needs to get to. Also, we need real journalists, real big media platforms to go and push it and give it as criticism. So when I look at Batman, it has everyone's attention. Now, I thought Asgard's Wrath 2 was going to do that, but in reality, it just didn't. And I can go off as into why that didn't garner the attention that I thought it would, but that's another video. So when I look at Batman Arkham Shadows and I see even content creators I like that don't really indulge in VR content like RGT85, this is big for me. Like to know that he does have a big following, and on top of that, he doesn't like everything. So the fact that he's talking about it, and of course everybody else is going to jump on it once you see that as Batman, once you see that as an exclusive, and it's something that could be a big I guess you could say attention grabber for your channel. But there are some that are reviewing this game in a true honest form of experiencing it and loving what it is that they experience. Now, not to go and say that this game is perfect. There are some hiccups and issues that can be ironed out with some updates. And if you want to know what those issues are, I would refer you to Beardo Banjo, which, I've always advocated for his channel. Very good channel. Not the only channel, but definitely a good channel nonetheless. But this could be a huge push in what I said VR needs, because all it takes is for one to get enough people in the door and then make them stay for the rest of the products that show up. And this kind of comes in from a multitude of places of how this succeeds. Now, this isn't Quest's first attention grabber. Like, let's remember, Quest 2 was a big attention grabber because people were loving Beat Saber. People were loving Richie's Plank. People were loving Job Simulator. So those games were getting people's attention, and you would see the YouTube videos of it, but it was centered around the failures of people utilizing Quest because we love seeing people get hurt. We love negativity. That's just what garners people's attention, right? So when we look at what could keep people's attention, this can be something big. When we talk about the love of Batman and being Batman, they have an Iron Man game. This can entice people to go get the Iron Man game. I don't know if Sony would ever allow Meta to get a Spider-Man game, but that's another thing. Superman is this can continue on within that comic sphere, right? But I don't want to just bring it into the platforms that we already know about or the names we already know about. There are other fantastic games there, and I feel like when you see Batman getting this push, it should allow or make those content creators go and take a look at the other games in the library, excuse me. But that comes down to Meta and how they curate, how they filter, and how these things are found. That in itself is still a problem. If you were to go to the Meta Horizon OS, which that's what they changed the name of the app to, if you go to that right now, that thing is awful. Like, it's hard to find anything. There's times where I've actually typed in the name of the game and it did not populate the game. And when I went to go search for it on the homepage of Meta, it was right there. So there's a problem. The biggest issue that I ran into recently is there's a amazing game called Maestro that just released on the Quest. But if you type in Maestro, you can be confused by another game that's up there for free called Maestro, but it's not the same game. I don't know if the company themselves can take a look at that and get that fixed or get that rectified, but nonetheless, they can get a free download off of people's misunderstanding of what game they're actually going to play. But nonetheless, Maestro's great game. Arizona Sunshine just had a remake of the first game, and then the second game's already out. You have Does It Stack? That's a big game that just released too. As I mentioned before, Asgard's Wrath 2. I always talk about Underdog, the Moss series. Not saying that some of these games you can get on PSVR 2 as well. And I know there is a crowd that only has PSVR 2, but specifically for Quest, these are big games that should have more attention than what they have. Now, you can go into the Quest store and you can see the user reviews. To me, read the reviews for some of these games because sometimes they get the higher scores, and there's way too many 4s and 5s on the Quest store. I mentioned that in my last video as well too. But all I'm saying is, with Batman getting this type of love, this type of reception, and also getting this type of push as far as advertisements going, along with Quest providing a 3S, which is a cheaper version into the VR space at $299 or $300, however you look at it. I think this is a great window for Quest to really, really take advantage. I know they've been doing a big push with mixed reality stuff of like, oh, you can view YouTube while you're walking around. You can now have these new apps. I think Instagram and Facebook have come out of beta. Peacock now has it to where you can kind of view things in this different atmosphere similar to Apple Vision Pro. So they're making that big of a push, but really these games are here. Like, there's enough games that give you enough content for you to truly look at your headset and say, okay, this was worth the money. And I think Batman was a great game to get that pushed off on. It was always set to be a good start, and I was surprised when they first announced it, and then it turned around to actually come out a lot sooner after they announced it. Because typically you don't get release dates for VR games sometimes. But really, this could be the bigger push. But Meta has to continue this momentum. I don't know what's next on their radar. I know what's next on my radar, and it's not a Quest exclusive, but Thrill of the Fight 2, that's next on my radar of games to get. I know there was I'm blanking on the name, and I hate that I am, but there's this home laser game that's mixed reality, but it got pushed to next year, but it's still something I'm looking forward to. It seems like we're getting out of this experiment space, this demo space, or just trying to figure out VR. There are real content creators that are here and they're making these games, and they're official solid games, and they're not just fluff or demos or what have you. So for example, we also have a company that's Flat to VR. They just released their first game of the trombone game. I need to look that up, but there's a trombone game that they just released, and their whole concept is to take flat games and turn them into VR games. And with this being their first iteration and making it something amazing, the sky's the limit. So I feel like you have the right pieces here. It's just one for me. Quest has to do their part as well of not only advertising, but to fix that app, because not only is it slow, but it's also something that needs to be better suited for people to go through and see what it is that is available and what they can play. Because honestly, I would not rely heavily on the user reviews or the reviews in general, because they seem to be very oversaturated at this point sometimes, with a lot of 4s of like, man, this is the greatest game, and somebody may have only played it for an hour. So I would just really look at these content creators such as Bureau Banjo, BMF VR, Cass and Cherry, VR Grid. There's quite a few that are out there. So definitely wanted to make this quick video. For those of you that do have Quest, please go check out Batman Arkham Shadows. For those of you that subscribe to Quest Plus, there is a 30% off code that is lasting until like November 12th, November 14th, or something like that. So you can get it at like 34.99 or something like that, similar to what I got it at. So definitely take a look at this game. Do not let the price of $50 scare you away. You've paid more for less over on the flat side. So if you have a Quest, definitely go purchase, enjoy the game, stop paying attention to so many reviews. Like, you can watch to see what it is that you're getting into, but just really go with your own opinion, your own gut, and really just enjoy being Batman and experience this game. But also to look at these other games. There are great games out there. Just take the time. And if you don't know what to play, I'll toss some at you. So yeah, definitely take a shot. This is a great job. Definitely would love to see more. So definitely, if you don't have a Quest, get one. If you have one, play this and more. So it's been your boy Jack. I thank you again for your time. Peace.